Hey, welcome back to Blueprints. It's day 48. And I finally tried to solve like the clock tower puzzle, and this is probably something I'm going after. In this episode I did it like on just some, like, I'm gonna call it like paper, it's obviously like a text file, but still. First of all, let's check out like the standard stuff. Silver key, okay, brass compass, I can work with that. That's probably fine. Do I even need that one? You know, I'm still gonna take it just because it's an item. I like picking up items. Last time I ended the episode in the bunk bed, and to my understanding something should happen in the tomb, assuming that I'm getting the tomb. Okay, this is actually really awkward. I want the shelter to access the mail in there, because now I can do that. But I also want the shrine, because I need the blessing of the monk for like another idea that I had. So I'm going to go for shrine. It's fine. I'm gonna read the mail another time. I'm gonna throw in like all my money. Yeah, like, let's say I might need some items. So let's say 31. So I have like 10 coins left. That's probably enough in case I want to buy like something quickly. And I hope I get a good blessing here. Okay, it's the berry picker again. That's not quite what I wanted. I wanted I think it's the monk one where you can get get a room inside of the outside, basically, which sounds weird. Because I had seen in Lady Absint's diary, there was like, it was shown that there was like a room outside, and there are two theories I have. Either it's just a four-way intersection, or it's explicitly the antechamber because it's the same symbol. I'm not sure if I can copy the antechamber outside of the building. If that's possible, that would be quite interesting. But I need the blessing for that. There's also still one thing I have never solved. What's the cabinet? I'm guessing this is what it says, like what is written down here. Because it's kinda hard to read, but we obviously are missing a lever here, so one day we might figure out what that means, maybe not. And we have the guest bedroom. I'm gonna pick that one, just see if I can figure it out. I didn't get any steps yet, so I don't know which one it is. Entering it doesn't have an effect. So that means the guest bedroom can only be... It could be the boudoir. Cannot be the nursery. It cannot be the master bedroom. I didn't get any steps. It could be her ladyship's chamber. It could be the bunk bedroom. Like, the issue is with like the servants' quarters, for example, we don't actually get that item. But it could also be the spare bedroom. So we have boudoir, bunk room, ladyship's chamber. It could be the maid's chamber, which would be terrible. It could also be like aquarium and stuff. This is like the annoying bit about this. Gonna have to figure that one out later. I'm thinking, what are those mountains actually about? Is this from this mountain range? I don't actually remember. I feel like I've seen these mountains multiple times, but I just can't remember where. Gonna have to check like some places again, I feel like. But I definitely feel like I've seen them in multiple places. Maybe it was in the souvenir room? Maybe? I don't actually remember. And the clock tower. That didn't take too long. Yeah, I did get some dice here. I'm gonna have to check the clock real quick. Yeah, I have like 4 hours in game. I have a lot of time. I'm gonna set like a... I still don't know how long an hour is in game. I should have timed that one, but I'm gonna set like a 20-minute timer for me, and then I'm gonna check again. And the new map, and it's over there. I can probably kind of reach that. Not quite, but maybe soon. Ooh, yeah. Oh. Okay, here's the thing. I just got a deposit key, and I just had the cloister of Draxus, and obviously I didn't get the vault here. Also, I don't have the gems to get one, so I need some gems before I do anything interesting. By the way, I mentioned last time again, this was the trophy I was thinking about like last episode, about room 8 on rank 8, and I have to solve it, and I don't even know what rank like room 8 is. It's probably a secret one. No, it can't be, because secret rooms are kind of separate from the regular ones, right? So I'm not really sure how I would get through room 8. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure that one out. I need some gems, so it's probably time for the parlor. Just in case I find the vault. So let's see what the puzzle has in store for us today. This box contains gems. All statements that contain the word gems are false. This box is not empty. Okay, so here is the thing. I feel like if the word is like in another color, it has to not be included in the same list, I feel like, because otherwise it doesn't make sense, because otherwise this would contain the word gems and couldn't be true there, like therefore, which means that it doesn't actually help us. It's just like a false statement, which means that one of them would be true and one of them would be false. But if we do it the other way around, right, because both of those say that they basically contain gems, so one of them has to be false. So now we have to go via this one. Okay, here's my issue currently I'm thinking about. Okay, assume that this is true that I understand this correctly, like originally, why this statement contains the word gems, so it would have to be false, okay? But because it's false, it would also be true at the same time. But this is not an issue because we have multiple statements with gems. If we assume that this one is false, because it cannot be true, because otherwise we have like a it's saying something against itself, basically, right? We have a paradox. But as long as we are saying, okay, this is a false statement and this is true, this would mean that the statement on here is still false, because not all the statements that contains gems are false. Only one of them would be false and the other one would be true. So this would still be fulfilled, and this one would be true, and we would still have a false statement, which means the gems would be inside of here. But if we assume that words that are written in a different color are not included in this one, then this could be a true statement, which means that this one would be false, but we still would be allowed to have a true statement over here. I am going to assume that words in a different color still are part of the statement. If that is the case, and we can actually check this one this time around, because if the gems are inside of this box, then the word that is like written in a different color is still part of the same statement, right? It's not excluded from that statement. If they are not in here, that means that they are excluded, and that means they would be inside of here. And then we have found another rule, basically. And this is why I'm going to go for this. And they're in here. So the word gems is not excluded. That is the important thing here. So the color does not actually matter on the statement. Okay, but this is good that we have this confirmation, because I feel like I was unsure about that previously. And we're getting some star signs. Ooh, that's nice. Actually, a lot of gems and more gems thanks to those flowers. Okay, I can work with that. Okay, I got the jackhammer. I kind of want to check my theory that I had last time about the gem mine. Ooh, time to drill. 2 dice. And I have like a lot of green rooms, so that's kind of nice. Only getting a shoe is really funny after that sound. It's the vault. It's not the perfect position, but it's definitely good. I also want the rumpus room just to see what happens now that I have all the visions already. But we need this, and we can get some more money. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Money, 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 money. And more money. Okay, we have a key in the hundreds. 100 something. 149. So 47, 49. Unlock. And another passport. This one's Samantha Hayes. Have I had that name before? I'm gonna go into my notes. I don't think so. Obviously, it's still our mother, but I would like to see if we have this pseudonym somewhere. Okay, I can't find it in my notes, so we probably don't. We're getting some allowance. That's... I would have liked something else, because we do know that there's a key in here that we need. Also, has it always said ID up here? No, wait. Is the layout different? No, why ID? Where's the I, not capitalized, but the D is? Same one here. You have a swan pendant? I was thought you had like the moon necklace, but no, it's still the same picture. None of the other ones say that. Grey Daniels, yeah. This is compromise. Why is there an X on here? Date of birth. Samantha Hayes. I don't get the ID. And it's 6. Wait a second. So here's the thing. We do know about another 6-letter word, which is castle. It's also kind of presented like this. Oh no, it's my timer. That was great timing. This is castle, obviously. We have that one in the underground next to chess piece. I'm gonna write that down. That ID. I'm gonna note this one like next to it that there are like 6 letters. The first one being an I, the second one being a capitalized D. So maybe we can write something if we find like all of the letters, because they would obviously fit into that same slot, right? Like I'm talking about like the chess puzzle, right? We broke open a wall next to it, and it's a 6-letter word, so it would make sense that this could be related, unless they really want to send me on a wild goose chase. And the rumpus room. Kinda wanna know if the rumpus room has changed now that we are done. I cannot enter a... Okay. I cannot insert a coin. That's important. So the rumpus room probably doesn't do anything for us anymore. Just had to know. It's not the best location, but we can at least check the clock. Oh no, I feel like... Is this like 1 hour off still? We're getting close. No, wait. It's in 2 hours, right? Like it's 1:30, if I recall correctly. Okay, so I have like a few more minutes before I have to go back to the tower. But I'm gonna wait there, probably. It's probably safer. And quickly let's set up an experiment just for the last few rooms. And nothing interesting, but I feel like we could get the keys. And I guess bedroom. That's probably something I can do. I don't really care about allowance anymore. It's just like the option if I can trigger something multiple times. Ooh, Wildberry gave me the room I actually wanted. That's nice. This is a white box this time around. Oh, okay, the color actually changes. I'm gonna have to look back into the notes, because we do know that... Was it green notes are wrong? Wait. I'm gonna tab out here for a second just to open my rules again. Green memos will always be true. It's a green card. But green memos in white box are always lies. But previously we had... I don't actually know which card the first box was. The previous box in this room contained a true statement. So the previous box was false. The true treasure of the trove is not in the house is a false one then. Okay. That's kind of rude. So the true treasure isn't outside, so we don't have to worry about that? That's kind of lame, but okay. I guess we at least got like some piece of information here, that's fine. There's also something I have noticed. A lot of these notes are written in... Like they were printed properly, right? Like they were properly printed... They were properly printed using a computer probably. Or like any sort of printing machine. This is a handwritten note. I am not sure about handwritten notes. Could they be faked? I'm gonna have to pay attention to that when I'm looking at the clock tower again. So now entering the guest room, do I get the effect twice or only once? Only once. So I don't actually have a lot of information here what it could be. It has to be a bedroom that's in my pool. It can't be the hovel, it can be the aquarium technically. No, it can't be because I have the watering can. Servants' quarter, no. Nursery, no. Master bedroom, no. Maid's chamber, maybe, but I did find a lot of items still. Ladyship's chamber, no. Bunk room, no. Boudoir, it could be the boudoir. Or the spare bedroom. I'm guessing I would get the items, so I'm gonna say spare bedroom? No, it's not. Okay. This is the first time I got this one wrong. I just had to guess something. Okay, so there isn't really a lot of stuff that I can do currently. There's technically one more room I could check out. Am I gonna risk it? Because I have like 1 hour until I have to be here. No, I'm gonna wait here. I'm gonna wait here and then we are going to talk about the puzzle once I am in front of the clocks. Clocks ticking. I mean, literally. I mean, seriously. I've been standing here for too long. I'm sorry. In any case, the door should open now. And there's another cutscene you cannot skip actually, which is interesting, okay. But we can now finally talk about like my solutions to this. I only spent like 15 minutes just scribbling down some things. And here's the thing. This puzzle is not... Well, I mean, I wouldn't say like it's not consistent. It probably is consistent, but the issue with this puzzle is that some, like the statements don't result in only one possible solution. So, I have actually done the thing for 2 different ways we can interpret this. First one is, and this is like a really weird thing that I thought about. If you assume that every single one of those nodes is true instead of red ones being false. Okay, here's the thing actually. Maybe I'm actually right about this. Because this is the only node that is like handwritten instead of printed. Maybe those are fake. Wait a second, because this is actually better for me. Like originally I said like assume that all of the nodes are true, but maybe the handwritten ones are actually false. Because it's like such a weird detail to have in here. And this one, right, like I have been bothered by this statement because the statement makes this extremely unclear. So for people who have not taken logic classes or like the math behind it, I'm gonna call it. The inverse or like like if you have a statement and the false statement side of that, right? Like this is like literally encompassing everything but the statement. What I mean by that, and to make it like a little bit clearer maybe. So this says like the clocks are positioned so that their times will go up in ascending order. But obviously this is a false statement, assuming that this is a false statement. If we compare that to something where it's a little bit clearer, assume we're talking about like, we just have like a wall and there's a statement that says, hey, this wall is white. So, if that statement is true, it only encompasses the color white. But if the statement is false, then the wall can be any color but white. And the same goes for this statement, which is why I was so bothered by it. Because it's saying, right, if this is a false statement, then that doesn't mean that the clocks are positioned in descending order. But instead, it does say that the clocks are positioned in any order but the ascending order, right? It can be descending, it can be all around, right? It can be just any sort of combination. It can just not be ascending. But if we assume that this is actually a true statement because it's handwritten, maybe this is just like a trick where the color basically changes if it's handwritten. This is like my theory currently. So like handwritten notes are... Have I ever seen a blue note being handwritten? I don't actually know. In any case, let's assume that this is actually true. So, let's go over like the rules that we understand, because we've been here a few times. So, the important ones are... not this one. This one, for example. Every single clock needs a... Like, it's not allowed to have the numbers 1, 2, 3, or 4 in it, which limits the times like dramatically. Then we have... Which is the other important one? 5 of these clocks should be set to a time ending on the hour. But because the numbers 1, 2, 3, or 4 are not allowed to be inside of like the clock at all, that means that we cannot have times like including 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or 12 o'clock, because all of them contain the 1. Same for 1, 2, 3, or 4 o'clock, which means the only possible full hours that we have are 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and 9 o'clock, which are 5. These are the exact 5 that we need. So those 5 hours are actually set in stone. What isn't set in stone are the 3 other clocks, because we have 8 of them. These don't end on the hour, basically, right? That means that they also have like some minutes at the end, and this is actually a more complicated thing here. This one is a clock that's supposed to be set on the hour, because it's like, it said it's not on the hour, but it's a red one. So let's say this is 7 o'clock then, because it has to be 7 o'clock for the sole reason that this one tells us that both neighboring clocks have to contain a 7, and 7 is the only one that contains, like, it's like full hour. But I can actually solve this like slightly more, because we do need the other times. And if we assume that this is actually a fault, like a double fault statement, so a true statement again, because it's handwritten, it's the only handwritten letter here, that means that the clocks would be built in ascending order. And assuming that we are saying left to right, that means the lowest time would be here. And since 5 o'clock is the first time we can enter, it would be 5 o'clock. And this one would be 6 o'clock. And then we have 7 o'clock over here. Then we have those 2 clocks. And this one here says that this clock has to be set to a time containing all different numbers. This is false. But as I talked about before, this doesn't mean that all the numbers have to be the same. It just means that one number has to double. Which means that there are actually a few possibilities. But we're starting at 6 o'clock. So it would be 6 o'clock and something. Because we are in ascending order, this one also has to be 6 o'clock and something. I'm going to solve those last, because I have not actually solved this room, assuming that this one is the only card that's like false, right? Like written in reverse. And if that's true, then we actually have to check a lot of notes, by the way. And this might actually prove the puzzle for me. Anyway, this one also is set to a time that contains the same 3 numbers as another clock, but in reverse order. Because clocks don't start with a 0, right? There is not something like 0 o'clock. We start at 12. Like 12 a.m., for example, is like everything in the 0th hour, basically. So this one also has to have different numbers and cannot end on 0, 0. So those are the 3 clocks that don't end in 0, 0, which means that this one has to be 8 o'clock. This one we don't know about, but this is the last hour that is possible, which is 9 o'clock. Okay, now this might actually make sense. Okay, now we have to figure out those 2. This one has to contain a 7. And here's the interesting thing about 7. Okay, it doesn't actually matter for this one. So, this means that there are only a handful of possibilities. So, normally I would say, okay, you could start with like 7 o'clock and then like 7 o'clock and 7 minutes, for example. This would be a valid option, because it's like, you know, we have the 7 twice. So not all, like there are different numbers still, but none of them, like not all of the numbers are different, which means that at least one of them repeats. This is one of the possibilities. Alternatively, we could also say something like 755, which is something that I did previously. But here's the thing. Because we now assume that this is in ascending order, we have to be at 6 o'clock and something. So we can start with that. So we have to start at like 6 o'clock. And this means that we're actually a lot more limited, because there's not something like 6 hours and, I don't know, 70 minutes. Obviously doesn't exist. Which means that the last digit has to be a 7. Okay. Is that even... That's still not possible, though. Wait a second. Because this has to contain a 7. And this has to contain all different numbers, or like at least one doubling number. 6 cannot repeat. Huh? This just breaks it, though. So it has to start with like 6 o'clock something, right? And same for this one, because this is 7 o'clock. So if we are going in ascending order, so this also has to be 6 something. I can't actually do that. So 6 o'clock something. what I mean by that is like we can technically set this one to 6 o'clock and 6 minutes, for example, right? But this one explicitly says that the clock's neighbors should be both set to a time containing a 7. Wait a second, doesn't that mean that... No, wait. This one has to be on the hour, so this has to be 7 o'clock. It cannot be something else, though. That is actually an issue. Because something's off, because like this one doesn't have a solution then, because we can't, like we cannot add like a 7 in here. Right, like 6 or 7, no, that's the wrong key. 6 or 7 would be a valid number for this one, right? Like different, there are different numbers in here. It also would fulfill this one. The issue is we don't have a number that doubles. And it's not like we can have 77 minutes in here, right? And both be set to a time containing a 7, huh? So maybe this theory is actually wrong. With the ascending order, right? Like my theory is still that this is, like this is the double inverse basically, right? The next problem is that we need one that we can reverse. So there has to be a clock that ends in an 8. It cannot be this one. So it would have to be this one. So first of all, it cannot end in a 3. So it could be 608, for example. It could also be 658. Which is more likely, because then we have like a higher chance that we can actually double a number. So 658. So this would be 8, 5, and 6. Right? Those are the inverse times, because this is support for this clock. This one's still before 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock. This is the only one that does not fit this pattern then. And like this position can't, like this is the wrong position maybe, because like we can't do that. 6 o'clock. Unless we also give you 7 o'clock, but this one can't, like this one has to be, because it says this clock should not be set on the hour. And it's wrong, so it should be set on the hour. And since it has to contain a 7, this has to be fixed. We cannot move this. Maybe I'm wrong about these notes then though. Maybe the rest are wrong? Handwritten note might be the only one that's valid? Could that be? But like the other notes that we have found inside of the estate that are all printed, like for example the safe code, are all written, like printed out instead of handwritten. And they seem to be all false, so I'm not sure about this. Let me see anything. I don't know, maybe that we can look at the other side of this, for example. I don't think so. Like for example, this card, it looks really dirty for some reason. This one as well. I don't know, maybe they were moved, but that wouldn't really change anything, would it? Then this would be 905. No, wait, there could be other possible ones, like 956, for example. But then this would be like 9 o'clock, because we still need 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I mean, that wouldn't really change a lot, actually. Except for the fact that this one has to have the reversed order of like another clock. I mean, it could also be that the red notes are just all false, right? Like this actually has to be a time contain, like where that's the truth. And then this one wouldn't be 7 o'clock though. I could also go back to the original idea that this is actually still a false statement, in which case we have 9 different combinations that I've written down that are all possible. But this is like so close that it kind of bothers me. But it could also just mean that this note was stolen and somebody has written something else there, right? Like I'm saying stolen because like it doesn't really make a lot of sense to not print that one. And we did get a mail in between that talked about how Sinclair still needed new nodes for the clock tower, apparently. I mean, you could also just go back to like my previous idea and just go through like all the possible combination, assuming that this is actually not a lie, or like not a double lie. That's probably the best way to put it. In which case, there are exactly 9, at least by my count, I might have missed one, 9 combinations where all of the different rules are fulfilled. Okay, I did it like this now, so we have like a descending order, like from left to right, where we start at 9 o'clock, then 8 o'clock, and then we have those two that we still have to set, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, this one we have to set, and then 5 o'clock. So, since this is the highest number, basically, we are going to start here and we're going to start low. The lowest possible time on here would be 7:07. Okay. If we have 7:07 here, that means that we are quite limited by the times that we can put on this clock for 2 reasons. First of all, it has to be a time before then, right? It can at most be 7:06. But because we have this clock and has to copy another clock, basically, right? Like it has to use those numbers in reverse, and we are between 6 and 5 o'clock. That means that we have to have one of the other 2 clocks end in a 5. Since this one doesn't end in a 5 and we are not repeating anything, that means that this one would have to end in a 5. So 7:05. Right? And this one would be in turn 5:07. This would be one of the valid options, assuming that, again, like this is, right, like a proper red node. I might learn about those later on. That would be kind of interesting. I'm gonna have to pay attention to those because like there are only a few handwritten ones, right? In any case, we could also, right, this is like the lowest that goes, and this is like basically the only combination if we are doing it like this. I'm just going to go through like all of the combinations, and if something happens, then something happens. If nothing happens, then I'm just gonna leave the room and try to learn more about nodes, apparently. I don't know. In any case, the next possible option for this one would be 7:55. 7:55 still fulfills like the rule that there are 2 numbers that are the same, because like one of the numbers has to repeat, because they can't be all different numbers. But it does open up the other 2 options by a lot, because first of all, we can now inverse this number, right? We can say 5:57 as a valid option for this one, for example. But it also gives like a lot more combination for this one. So I'm gonna just go through those. Still 7:05, so 5:07 is like one of the valid combinations. 7:05, and then we can move this one to 57. Still the wrong number, or like the wrong key. I'm great at that. So 57. And because we are now inversing like the first clock, we are free to move this one around quite a bit, because valid numbers are 7:05, 7:06, 7:07 is not valid. Or is it? I mean, it technically would be, right? Like, I don't know why it's not in my notes here. Because, like, 7:07 is just invalid if this one's 7:07. And technically this one doesn't have, like, the constraint that numbers can't double. So 7:07 would be fine. 7:08, 7:09. Then we have to skip, like, the 10s, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, because obviously those numbers can't exist. So now we are back at the 50s. So 7:50. And since we don't have to inverse this number, it's completely fine to just change this one. Then 7:55 is not possible because we have this one already. Okay, so 7:50 wasn't it either. Okay, so the next time we change something, we are changing this one to 7:57. It's the only other option where we have a number that's doubling, because the 7 obviously is doubled in here. Which means that we now have to inverse this number again, because it has to end in a 5, right? Hope that still makes sense. So we have as a first option 7:05, obviously. But it does mean that this one has to be 5:07. Okay, nothing happening. Then we have 755. 755, which would mean that this one is 557. And nothing happens. Yeah, those are all the combinations that you can find, assuming that this one means that the clocks are positioned in descending order. This is like the only thing that I have figured out. If we are saying that the order doesn't matter basically, except for the fact that they are not in ascending order, then there are so many combinations that I really don't want to try them. In any case, I tried all of them. There might be a true answer. Maybe I was really close figuring out that this one's actually a lie, like a double lie, because it's a red note with like the handwritten stuff on there, but I'm not sure. If that's the case, then I am still missing something in here, because it clearly isn't right. And I don't think anything changed up here. Yep, this still kind of looks the same. Maybe we have to figure out that like one of the rules is incorrect, or maybe the red note that's like written by hand is just an incorrect one, or maybe, and it's like where I thought that maybe this is like a stolen note, maybe we have to find the real note somewhere, that there's going to be a red note that's talking about how to change like times or something like that. And if that's the case, or like maybe a blue note, then we do know what to replace, and then maybe we are getting another rule. That's the only thing that I can see here. I mean, nothing happened once I stepped outside. I'm not gonna step outside further. Since okay, technically I have like one more room. Is it worth it to go there? I think I still have like a berry. Like the other theory was that maybe I should do it inside of here, right? Like I should end the day inside of here, because we have heard that there are extra effects if I trust our good old grandmother. I think I still have a berry, or can I? No, berries would be shown somewhere here, right? And we've gotten 3 berries, I think. Yeah, I do remember picking like some of those, because I got the treasure trove. I think the laundry room and like another one using that one. So, you know what? Ignore the last room. I'm just gonna end it here. Let's call it a day. This was another short episode, probably. I'm probably going to cut out like a lot of my rambling. I can still hear the clock. Anyway, we have 4 green rooms, 4 shop rooms, the shrine, the chapel, the cloister. I didn't actually pay attention that those were like explicitly stated here. Since when? I don't actually remember. Anyway, let's exit and continue in another run. At least the noise is gone now. I have never paid attention to the fact that I can still hear the room before, but again, we are just going to go through here. Day 49, hopefully another short run. And then we will figure something out. Probably not the clock tower though, unless there's something important here. Is there any reason for me to get the tomb again? Oh yeah, we wanted to see if the... No, that doesn't actually make any sense now. I'm still gonna get the tomb, but the reason why I wanted the tomb last run was because in the diary it was said that there was like a flower now on Simon's grave that wasn't there before, because this is obviously you know, this is still Herbert. Sometimes I'm struggling with like the most basic stuff, I don't know why. This is obviously Herbert's grave, but that doesn't mean that, like, we are still missing some graves, I would say. We could technically dig around here. I don't know if I've ever done that. I feel like I never have like the stuff that I need. But obviously, like, this is Lady Absint's grave. With the flower on top of here, we also get the key again, but I don't think we need it. This one still, I don't get it. Mostly, this is like a note. I don't know who wrote that one. Originally, I thought it was like by Lady Absint, maybe. But we also have like the name Uljora. And like there are definitely some words that you can read out of there, right? Like there are some that like the... where was it? There's like something with forget, for example. Forget Uldainen. And there are like some other Sinclair Lu. Who Epson Lu? Right, we have like Who, Sinclair Lu, Who, Epson Lu. Forget Uld Ein In. I don't know how to read that. There's probably like a way to split that and that makes sense. I've written down no clue though. In any case, I want to see if there's like another, because there still has to be another grave here, right? At least. I would actually assume that there are multiple graves still here. Right, like this, for example, kinda looks like there's something missing here, right? Is that the only place where that is the case? It's kind of hard to tell, by the way, in the dark, just because the lights are shining on me. Maybe this one would make sense. We also do know that this one technically should have had a flower on there, assuming that the bunk bedroom effect is actually true. And seemingly also the only other grave that we can reach. So I'm guessing this is kind of important. Like I don't know, maybe the flower is just a gem. Right, it could be like one of those flowers, but yeah. I'm also kind of suspicious about like some things every once in a while, right? Like this is... Okay, maybe it's just a lighting thing where you can't actually see the ceiling here, and it's just because this is so lit up that you can kind of make out what the ceiling is like. But also obviously we have like all of those rocks. So, but they might just be regular suspicious, right? It's also like one of those, I guess it's like kind of a window, but it's like all bricked up. So maybe I can smash that in, but I don't think so. Maybe the next time I get one of the sledgehammers, I might try it. Time to set up an experiment. Maybe something interesting. Still nothing. I don't know. Like, I really want those letters, and I don't know if I have to do something specific or I'm just getting really unlucky, because I feel like they could really be helpful, right? Like, I feel like I'm kind of stuck every once in a while, and like just a little push could maybe help me find like another puzzle or two. I'm just gonna get like more allowance. I guess none of these are interesting. That's actually kind of funny. I have the claim ticket here, but it's archived, so you can actually figure out what's inside of this room, I guess. Am I going for that one? Would be funny. I mean, I can always bring back the key later on. Actually funny with the vestibule, because I can just open all the doors. It's just a four-way intersection now. Oh, I just noticed that the master key actually... Right, I was confused about like this symbol, but we have like the 3 mountains here. Also, we have the symbol of the... What's it called? Like the Blackridge Grotto? Yeah, it's the same symbol that we have like in the middle, which is interesting. I am back in the guest bedroom, but this time I got keys. So I'm guessing it's just the servants' quarters, right? So you do get the items here, okay. I did get something else, I didn't pay attention. Did I get even more keys? Maybe, I didn't need those keys though. Okay, I definitely can't, like I did bring a power timer, but I can't break open this wall. And I'm guessing the other one, probably also nothing I can break. Like if anything, this is probably related to those rocks here, because there's definitely a rock missing, but that's like the closest thing I could imagine. It could also just be texture, right? Like I'm not blaming the game to not want to look boring, okay? You know, I've been thinking I might have to go back to the grotto again, but I do remember there being like this pattern of I's and O's. Maybe that could fit here? I don't know if there's like enough of a gap. I know that they didn't have like the lines, so I'm not 100% sure if that fits, but maybe I should remember it for this one. You know, I thought I could be funny and go via the tomb down here, but that just means that the elevator is up, so I have to walk even further. Okay, it really wasn't worth it. So I've been thinking about like this place here as well, because we still have one of the sarcophagi upstairs, and there are technically 5 down here, and I was like, okay, who could those belong to? I was looking at the family tree because it kind of makes more sense, right? Like, obviously we do know where Simon, like not, you know, the other H. Sinclair is actually buried, or like we don't quite know where he is buried, but I'm guessing it's the other sarcophagus upstairs. as well as Herbert's and Lady Absence we have found. So there's the Lionel Absent we have heard nothing about outside of like the little note in the family tree, as well as the 4 parents of theirs. I would assume that would make sense, otherwise I wouldn't know who is actually inside of these. Still kind of weird to have a skull just laying about. Right, we have like 3 of those skulls. Why would you keep them just laying around somewhere? That's certainly a design decision. Might be cultural thing with like Draxus. I don't know. Just spitballing. That's quite a cracked wall, but like, sadly not enough to actually smash it open, I guess. Let's go for the parlor one more time, just in case. Like, I did see that I have the vault inside of my drafting pool, so just in case I need it. The box next to this box is false. A box next to this box is true. Okay. The box next to this contains the gems. Okay. So, we only have like one statement each time again, so let's just make some assumptions. Let's assume that this one is a true statement, so the next one would be false, which says that a box next to this box is true, which is in itself false, because at least one of them is true already, so this would be true, so that can't work out, right? Like, or like the other way around. At least a box is true is what this statement is, which means it is a true statement as long as this one is true, which means that this one cannot be true, because otherwise we have like this conundrum again, right? So let's assume that this one is false, which means that the box next to them is true, which means that a box next to this one is true, which means that this one also has to be true, and the box next to this box contains the gems. Well, this is the only one next to it, so this one should contain the gems. Yep, easy enough, and this definitely has been one of the easier puzzles again, like after the other ones had like multiple statements per box. Dang, I just got 40 steps to have so many red rooms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow. And the aquarium. I had 8 red rooms in this house. I should have gotten the Conqueror blessing. Wow, that's like the first time I could have gotten that one. Ah, great, and now I'm losing half of my steps again. Well, at least I can continue, right? Yeah, there's a structure of structural elements in the house, like walls is not permanent. This is actually interesting that this note is not constantly capitalized like a lot of other ones are, but it's still not handwritten. The 8th and to our... This is not something that's written on the other half, right? The 8th and something. Where would the other half be? Right, like of this text? I'm guessing there should be like a note somewhere. I feel like the other notes didn't have like text up here, right? Did they? I should make more permanent pictures every once in a while. I'm gonna do that. So just so I can save them and just look at them during a recording, at least in a more easy way than I have done before. I don't know. I feel like I still need to look back into my recordings, because I feel like one singular time I did have some items in the lavatory, but maybe I'm just imagining things. Alright, this was just another short run. I'm gonna bring my super special awesome master key back, and once I have done that, I am going to end the day and also the episode, right? Like this was like 2 short runs for you guys. For me it was like a little bit longer, but still. Alright, master key has been checked. I don't have any rooms anymore that I can explore. I didn't even use all of the berries. Would have been nice to use at least one more, just because it has some fun effects every once in a while, because you're getting such like so many rare rooms just randomly. In any case, I also didn't get anything out of the tomb. This was a really short run. I feel like I'm gonna have to do like an episode at some point where I'm just going through like 3 or 4 runs, because there are like a few theories that I want to test, and all of them, there's just like a lot of downtime I want to put it, and normally I don't really want to have like too many runs at once, because like there are tiny things that happen every once in a while that I like to talk about, right? In any case, let's end it here, call it a day. Yeah, let's do that. and see what the estate's looking like. It's the Crimson Manor of the Dead with 10 red rooms and 12 dead end rooms. 10 red rooms is kinda extreme, right? In any case, I hope you still enjoyed the episode. I am very curious about what the handwriting on the red notes means, because like I've kind of shown like my solutions for the clock tower in like the previous day, obviously. And like as I mentioned before, there are like 9 possible combinations that I can see, like just quickly glancing over it, that all fulfill all the requirements, at least assuming that the last red note means that it's going in descending order. Because again, if it's like randomly, like if you can just use any possible combination, right, like or any possible order, not just combination but order, then you have like so many more possible combinations, and I feel like that is not quite the intention. And I also feel like that something is off with like that one card. I bet that this is not the original card and I have to find the original card, because otherwise this is not a solvable puzzle in that sense, I would say. Also, I should have probably gone into one of the bedrooms to see like the effect. It's too late, I'm gonna have to do that another time. Or maybe sleep in the tomb, who knows? That would probably also be totally healthy for my back and neck, I don't know. In any case, I still wanna explore and I still want to figure out like the last few secrets. I also realized that there was like one number that I have not really tried in saves, which is why I did that in the drawing room today, which is like the 1213, because it's the year where I don't actually know why 1213 is that important. It's like on the heraldic symbol of the Epson and Sinclair family that you can see in the wine cellar. So I'm guessing this number is going to be important somewhere, right? Like in Roman numerals. Would be weird because like other numbers are apparently important. Maybe it's just like another room, I don't know. Maybe I just forgot about it. Maybe I've also tried it before. In any case, I'm gonna end the episode here. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll be seeing you next time. Till then, have a good one and bye bye.